Home of the prodigal son, young Chad Townsend. And Chad Townsend plays on, plays to the whistle, kicks away for Valentine home. Townsend.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Chad Townsend Show. If you're new here, please make sure you do subscribe. It is greatly appreciated. Let's have a look at what we got on today's show. So, what's trending in the NRL? Always, we have a look at the most trending topics in the game, and we give my opinion on them. So, stay tuned for that. Round 17 reaction, a massive weekend of games and results. Origin teams have just been announced for today. Game 3, the decider in Sydney. What a game that's going to be. We've got a new segment on today's show. It's called the Top 5. And today we're going to be looking at the top 5 NRL balls, the top 5 sponsors that we've had on the balls over the years, in my opinion. So stay tuned for that. We've got our big footy guy of the week. And as always, we finish with our fan questions. So make sure you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. And if you're listening over on the audio platforms, please make sure you rate and review. We really do appreciate all of your support here. And it does mean a lot. So before we get into today's show, Victor, how was your weekend, brother?
Good, mate. Lost soccer on the weekend.
Yep.
And the Sharks lost. So it was a good weekend.
Yep.
2 L's, but we move.
we move, we go again.
I
love that energy from you on a Monday. We go again. It's not a loss, it's a lesson.
It's a loss. Yeah, that's so true.
It's not a loss, it's a lesson. You know what I mean? It depends how you take it.
Is that one for your post-career coaching
Potentially.
speeches?
Yeah, potentially.
I like that one.
I mean, I'm still looking for a job at the moment next year. Still looking for a contract. So
Could be a coach.
Yeah, I could be. We'll see what happens.
See what happens.
Let's move into it.
Game 3 teams are in, mate.
Game 3 teams. Let's go.
Talk to us. Who we got in for the Blues?
Let's go. Let's have a look. New South Wales Blues. Pretty much exactly the same team they've had for the whole series, to be honest. Dylan Edwards, Brian To'o, Zach Lomax on the wings, Crichton and Mitchell in the centres, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary in the halves, Reeves Robson at hooker, Payne Haas and Max King to start up front, Liam Martin, Angus Crichton in the back row, Isaiah Yeo, Locke and captain. And then on the bench, Connor Watson, Spencer Leniu, Hudson Young, Stefano Utoikamanu retains his spot on the bench. There was a little bit of talk that Stefano may make way for someone like Keon Kalom-Tangi, but he retained his spot in the 17. And then 18 to 20, Jacob Carraz, Lindsay Smith and Bradman Best. So there was a bit of talk on Fox Sunday evening that potentially Teague Wilton and Parramatta's Jack Williams may have been included in the squad, but not to be at the moment. So for New South Wales, I mean, they've pretty much named the same team that they've had the whole series, which, you know, is a great thing. A great thing to be able to name the same side, to be able to have that team that's got a base already, have already trained and played and spent a lot of time together. They don't have to bring in anyone, especially in the key position. I feel like that's a real plus for us in New South Wales to do that. And unlike the Maroons, which we'll have a look at their team now, they've obviously had a big shift and a big change to their key position at fullback, obviously with the injury to Callum Ponga on the weekend, with Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow coming in, getting the nod at fullback over Reece Walsh. Now, look, I thought this decision could have gone either way. I like the decision of Hammer. Obviously, Reece Walsh is named the 18th man for the Maroons, and he's a gun player. But Hammer on the weekend, 4 tries in the Dolphins game. He was just on fire. He was absolutely incredible, I thought, and I really liked his game. Then on the wings, Xavier Coates and Valentine Holmes moves back to the wing after playing game 2 in the centres. And Rob Toya, and here's the big one, Gamut Shibasaki, named to make his origin debut in the decider for Queensland. And a massive congratulations to Gamut Shibasaki. 12 tries so far this season. He has been absolutely killing it for the Brisbane Broncos, and a great reward for Gamut and the resilience he's shown throughout his career. Played with Gamut in 2023. He played for us at the Cowboys, and he wasn't re-signed by the Cows in 2024, so he didn't have any offers, and he went and played Queensland Cup for the Townsville Blackhawks and played really well. He got a call up to go and play for South Sydney. I think he might have played 1 or 2 games for Souths last year. And anyway, the back end of last year, he was off contract and he just had a little baby. He wasn't sure what to do. And then his phone rang and he got an offer from the Broncos to have a train and trial deal, and basically no guarantees, just come down and do the preseason and see how you go. So he took his whole family down to Brisbane, trained the whole summer, trained absolutely unbelievable, and then started round one. He's played every game since. He's up there with the top try scorers in the competition, and now he's making his State of Origin debut. So a real reward for resilience, for hard work, for dedication, and Gamet, congratulations, mate. You thoroughly deserve this, and I can't wait to see you go. So well done to him. We move on. The rest of the team for the Maroons: Cameron Munster at 5'8", Tom Dearden at halfback. The front row: Josh Papali'i, called back into the Origin arena and starts up front for the Maroons. Has been in great form for the Raiders, but obviously took a step back from Origin a couple of years ago with Queensland light on middles. Billy Slater's got his phone number. He's called him up and he's brought him back in. Harry Grant at hooker, Tino to start as well. In the back row, Ruben Cotter, Kurt Capewell, who done such a great job for the Maroons in Game 2, retains his spot. Trent Liero at 13. And then the bench is Kurt Mann, Lindsay Collins, Pat Carrigan, and Jeremiah Nene. 18, Reece Walsh, 19, Jermaine Hobgood, and 20, Josh Kerr. Victor, what do you think?
I like it. The Gamet Shibasaki pick caught me off guard. But I see Billy's understanding. Like, he's had a cracker season.
He's had a cracker season so far. I know this could have gone a couple ways.
Yeah.
Murray Taulagi, has done a job there before. He's played for Queensland. He's played for Australia. But he's only just come back from kind of a hamstring injury. So that may have come into play. Where Gamet's obviously played every game so far this whole season.
What do you think about not including Reece Walsh, who's probably had his best 2 weeks of the season, the last 2 weeks, and Broncos on the rise?
Yep, for sure. Look, I think this is the toughest decision, one of the tougher decisions Billy would have had to make. Look, I think there's no doubt Reece Walsh could come in and do a job there, but I think Billy has probably gone like Game 3 decider, taken everything involved and what he feels the team needs. And like Reece Walsh has a better passing game than Hammer. Hammer's probably got a better support play game up through the middle than Reece Walsh. And these types of games are probably broken open through the middle of the field when there's fatigue. There's not so much really flashy plays where long balls kind of execute because the defense is too good. And where in the NRL, like you quite often see Reece Walsh break open the defense with a beautiful long pass. But I think Billy's probably taken that into consideration. That's why he's made the call to go with Hammer. Hammer's support play is outstanding, and we saw that on the weekend. But obviously, it was a big call. Reece doesn't take anything away from Reece Walsh's past couple of weeks. It's just good to have those selection headaches for Billy. I mean, you either go Hammer or you go Reece Walsh, and you've got Callum Ponga there. You've got 3 fullbacks, plus I'm sure there's a couple others there who are knocking on the door as well.
Yep,
so
for sure.
It's a good headache to have for Queensland, but I think with taking in all of the information, I think Billy's probably made the right call.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
We'll do our predictions next week.
Yep.
Next Monday. But where do you think this game will be won?
I mean, this game is, it's always won and lost in the middle, isn't it? I mean, these forward packs, they're always who can stand over the other forward pack. And I think, you just have to, I think the upper hand goes to New South Wales here because of the fact that they're so solid. Like, they don't have any changes. Like Queensland, they've had to bring Papali'i back in. They've had a couple of other changes as well. So look, I think, I know Queensland, we don't need to go back to sort of Game 2 and obviously the penalty count and everything like that, but home ground advantage is so critical in Origin, and we've got the home ground advantage. Like, we've got the home crowd. We're probably going to win the penalty count. Like, and if we don't,
don't say that. Don't say that. No.
We might have to get the script out. We might have to get the script out again.
Don't say that yet.
But yeah, look, there's no doubt these games are won and lost in the forward pack, and then it lays the platform for the outside backs and for the halves to play off the back of and controlling the ball. Like, who can control the ball? And then when the game comes open, the fatigue comes into it. Who wins? Who makes the plays? Whether it's attack or defense, who makes the big plays at the big moments? That's what it's going to come down to. And we'll have a look more in next week's episode, next week's show as we get closer to the game. Obviously, still a week and a half out from Game 3, but that's exciting, mate. Let's move on. What do we got next?
DAZN. DAZN. Is it DAZN or DAZN?
It's DAZN, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
DAZN.
Fact check that. Fact check.
Yeah, I mean, if we're pronouncing that wrong, let us know. I'm sure someone will let us know. You know
Yeah.
what you know what the internet's like. No, you can't be wrong on the internet. You can't make a mistake on the internet, can you?
They're going head to head with 9, aren't they? For the
Yeah.
bid for all 9 NRL games next season.
Yeah, so this
Huge.
is an interesting one, to be honest. With reports coming out that Dazen, who owned Fox, have just re-signed Braithen Astor and Matthew Johns until 2028, and obviously it shows, the interest for Fox to make a new bid and retain the rights for the NRL with the next CBA due to expire in a couple of years. Now, this is going to be a massive CBA for the RLPA, for the players, and also for the broadcast partner. And this is obviously where a lot of our money as players, where our salaries come from, obviously the broadcast rights, because it is so in demand. But I feel like this is the first time where we're actually really negotiating and dealing with like these streaming services. So much, I guess, now in international sports, you look across overseas, like so many leagues have, streaming services, where it's like Paramount Plus, or it's like, NFL games are on Netflix now, whether it's on Amazon Prime, like all these streaming services are bidding because they've got the money to and they want the content, they want the sport. So there's reports that Channel 9 are preparing a multi-billion-dollar bid to have 9 games around 3 games free to air, and then 6 games on Stan for their pay-per-view, including finals and origin. So Channel 9 obviously have their free-to-air arm, and then they've got Stan, their pay for streaming service. So look, it's going to be really interesting. I think at the end of the day, look, we want the fans to get a win out of this. And obviously, we want the players to get a win out of this as well. But I think, history shows that the broadcast rights, the money that they pay, it's going up and up and up. So this is why obviously the salary cap rises each and every year. It tends to double every 7 years. I think the salary cap, it's 7 or 10 years, the salary cap doubles. So look, what the players are earning now compared to what they're going to be earning, it's just going to keep going up because the eyeballs, the demand, we're bringing in more people to make more bids for, the content. And it's awesome to see. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. Like as a fan of rugby league, like it's gonna be awesome. So
Can only be good for the game. I'm just gonna play this video.
All right, let's play it.
So I'm trying to figure out the actual pronunciation.
How do you say this thing?
Dazen?
So how do you say dozen?
Dozens? Dozen? Dazen?
So how do you pronounce it? Is it dozen?
Dazen, dazen, no, dazan. Okay, focus.
The zone?
The zone? The zone.
The zone. Yeah, there you go. The zone, baby.
The zone. Welcome to the zone.
1-0.
You beat me 1-0.
1-0.
You just one up me. DAZN.
DAZN. There you go,
Doesn't sound like DAZN, but DAZN. DAZN.
like DAZN, I guess.
DAZN.
Like you're in DAZN, maybe.
All right.
Anyway,
I like it.
there you go.
I like it. DAZN. I know they used to stream the boxing. They stream all the boxing
Yeah, they
and all
do
the
all
NFL
the boxing,
and all
right?
that.
Yeah.
So
They're a big company.
they're huge. I mean, they own Fox. They just
Now
bought
they-
Fox.
yeah.
So
So
mate,
Channel 9 going up against them is like, oof.
this is multi-billion-dollar.
It's good for the
industry.
game.
It's good for the game. Great for the
Great
game.
for the game.
Mate.
Bit of transfer talk.
Yeah, let's move on.
Dolphins sign Selwyn Cobbo on a 1-year deal for 2016. What do you think of this? And I'm guessing this kind of tees him up to go to Perth in 2027, maybe?
Yeah, look, I like it. I think it's a great signing by the Dolphins. The 1-year deal to me says that Selwyn is looking at the Bears, but I think everyone is like, I think it's good management by his manager and his team to say, mate, let's just go for the 1-year deal. You have a really good season next year and then try and sign after next year a longer term deal to sort of see where you're at. And look, there's no reason why Selwyn doesn't stay at Redcliffe next season. If he has a great season, he plays well. This Dolphins team are just improving every single week. So to add a player like Selwyn Cobbo, is going to be great for their team. Like, they're building. So I don't see a reason as to why he might leave after next year. Obviously, there's Perth, and Perth's going to be after every off-contract player with probably some big money contracts, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's already gone. Like, obviously, he's a Brisbane kid or Queensland kid. You'd probably like to stay in Brisbane, I assume. I didn't like the way that they kind of kicked him out the door, so to speak, with some of the quotes and stuff about, Selwyn not being the best trainer or staying up late to play video games, and there was talk about he's been late to training, and all this stuff had came out after he'd signed with the Dolphins. And it was like someone's just leaking this information to some journalist, and some journalist is writing it just to, like, as he's signed and leaving. And I just thought it was a bad look. Like, come on, mate. Like,
keep that in-house.
Whatever's going on there, whoever's, like, sort of throwing that shady information, like, grow up. Like, I thought that was a poor play. But, yeah, it's good for Selwyn, good for the Dolphins, and I guess gives him a chance, to look at the Perth Bears, which he'd be silly. He'd be silly not to.
Think about that Dolphins backline next season.
It's a nice...
Hammer, Bostock, Herbie, Cobbo,
Asako.
Oof.
It's a good backline.
It's a great backline.
So,
great backline.
Who else we got in there? Transfer talk.
JDB, Jack DeBellin, leaves the Dragons and signs with the Eels.
Yeah, this is a sad one for me. Look, I read, and look, I'm going through what I've read through the media, that Jack DeBellin was brought into the office and told that there was no contract offer for Jack DeBellin to stay at the club. And Jack's, I think, 20 or 30 games off the highest capped player for St. George Illawarra ever. So he's really close to that mark. So he was brought into the office, told that he wasn't going to get a contract, which is totally fair enough. Like, this is professional sport. Things happen like that. Then he's obviously gone and looked around and found a deal with Parramatta, gone and said, like, I've got a deal with Parramatta. And then obviously I'm pretty sure the Dragons got a little bit of backlash for that decision. And then they said, oh, look, we'll offer you a deal. And he's like, no, thanks. So, look, I know I saw something on the weekend, Jack DeBellin, he did not want to leave, and it would have been great for him to stay. Obviously, he's a really well-liked player. Jack DeBellin, everyone that plays with him, he's a real team-first guy. He's still playing great football. So, yeah, look, a sad sort of scenario, but this is professional sport. You don't always get the fairy tale ending. And that's just a part of the game, unfortunately. So, yeah, happy for him that he got his new contract, but also, yeah, I guess it's probably bittersweet for him that it's not at the Dragons. Yeah, for sure.
Next up, Grant Anderson signs with the Broncos for 2026, leaving the Storm.
Yeah, look, really, this report came at like the start of the year, I'm pretty sure, that Grant Anderson signed. And I heard it and I was like, yeah, like this is crazy. Like, he signed so well long out for someone, respectfully, like not a massive name in the game at the start of the year, but has played and done a tremendous job for the Storm so far this season. He's covered multiple positions and secured his future at a big club. Like, this guy's done a job whatever he's played. So, yeah, really well done to him. I think it's a great signing. I think he can fill gaps and play center wing. He can play in the halves. He can play at fullback, multiple positions on a guy who, like, again, respectfully, he's not a superstar, but he can come in and be a really high quality, first grade player. So, well done to him.
Yep. Next up, probably the biggest one, Talon De Silva leaves the Tigers.
Yeah, this was
to join the Eels.
This was pretty big news, to be honest. I remember watching the footy over the weekend, and it came out, Talon De Silva, 4.5-year deal with the Eels, which is huge deal. There was talks around him potentially going to Manly, and then Parramatta, and then Newcastle were involved with taking on other players. And De Silva, I've really liked what I've seen from De Silva this year. I think he's taken a step this year. And I think he's got more steps to go in his game. He's a great runner of the ball. He's got a really delicate, nice touch with the ball as well. He's ball playing. And look, this is a decision from the Tigers hierarchy to move forward with Uppy and not Talon De Silva. So obviously Uppy's quite considerably older than Talon De Silva. But Uppy's obviously the captain at the moment and doing a great job. Uppy is, He's been outstanding
He's
for
a
the
man.
Tigers.
Yeah.
He's a
guy.
he's a great player, but obviously De Silva's quite younger, and they felt like they needed to stay committed to Uppy and not, and then obviously that blocks the path for Talon De Silva. So I'm sure probably his manager asked if they could look elsewhere, and they were given permission, and that's just again how professional sport goes. But for Parramatta, I think this is a massive signing. Their spine is now slowly starting to take shape. Moses, De Silva, Iongi at fullback, Joash Papali'i as well, who I think they might look to sort of gel into that number 6 position, even though Footy Dean's doing a pretty good job at the moment there for Parramatta. So a great signing for the Eels.
Yep. That's it for transfer talk.
All right, let's move on to round 17. Let's have a look at some of the biggest takeaways from the games in round 17. It started off with what I think is the game of the season. Bulldogs 8 versus Panthers 6. Both teams awesome. It just goes to show you can watch a game of footy without high scoring, points galore, and actually have high quality football and entertainment. A really, really, really good game from both of these guys. Completion rates for the Panthers was extremely high. Great defense from both teams. This Connor Tracy try-saving tackles.
Oh, man.
Oh, mate. I
In
put
the
out
same spot as well.
It was almost like it was the same thing. It's just like this torpedo scooting along the bloody try line, him just diving, no remorse for his body, gets under the ball, holds it up, like really well done from CT. Casey McLean, he had a big night on Stephen Crichton. I thought he was great as well. You could see Nathan Cleary, gave him a big hug and a big cuddle after the game. I thought he'd done a really good job. McLean, there's no doubt he would have been up for that game. I think, coming up against Crichton, who is obviously one of the elite centres in the game. But for me, I just thought the Dogs' ill discipline in the second half, as well as the decision to take Marnie off and put Sexton to hooker and bring on Lachlan Gavin, I thought that lost them the game, to be fair. I thought they looked a little bit clunky in the second half with that spine combination, and also you combine that with their ill discipline. They made more errors in the second half, and look, I'm just not sure what that means for their spine moving forward for this year.
Yeah. What do you think they should be doing for the rest of the year?
If for me, I would leave the spine as it is, Burton, Sexton, Marnie. I'd leave Galvin on the bench, but I feel like they could have continued to play that game and left Galvin on the bench. Like, I didn't think he was required to go on the field. It's almost like they just put him on the field for the sake of it.
Yeah, especially at 6'2".
Yeah, and it just changed things around where I think Sexton's been doing a great job, and I thought he was doing a really good job on the weekend, and then I just think it just sort of flipped the game a little bit on its head. They were a little bit clunky. Yep. They didn't look as fluent. And Galvin, like, it's not Galvin's fault. Like, he obviously does what he's told, but he came on and obviously he was trying to do things and move the ball, and it just didn't look as fluent or as natural as they have with that first spine they've played with, predominantly the whole season.
Yeah, and especially in defense, like what Marnie brings to the table in defense, just making all those tackles, it's like you take him off and
of course
you lose that.
Definitely.
He was not happy.
No.
He was not happy.
You can tell. You can tell Marnie wants to be an 80-minute hooker, can't you? I mean, he's played 80 minutes for a long time, and those elite top-tier hookers, like, they don't want to leave the field. They want to be 80-minute players. I mean, you look at the top ones, like, Harry Grant, Reece Robson, Blake Brayley. These guys play 80 minutes week in, week out. So you'd put Reed Marnie in that category. He's probably a top 6 hooker in the competition. Yep. Wade Egan's probably up there as well. These guys want to play. They want to play 80. So the Panthers.
Yeah.
Great win. A great win. Are they back?
They are back.
They're back.
They're definitely back.
They're definitely back, man. There's a couple in a row. I'm pretty sure it's 4 in a row now with a bye. What
have you seen the Panthers do differently from a month ago when they were last place?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're finding ways to win, and I think they just know the consequences if they don't dial in now. It's like if they were to go on and lose a couple more, it's almost like the season's almost over a couple of weeks ago. So, look, I think they're holding the ball much more efficiently now. than what they were a month ago, and especially in the early parts of their season. Obviously, their edge defense is much better now. Like I spoke about Casey McLean, I feel like he's doing a good job now, where at the start of the year, their edge defense was really poor. It was what really let them down. They were conceding a lot of tries on the edges, and when you don't control the ball, you give up possession, and then you have poor edge defense. That's a combination to concede points, quite quickly. That's what they're doing a lot better now. Their defense has improved. Their ball security's improved, and when you do that, you give yourself a chance to win games. So, well done to them.
Well done. They are 4 on the trot. You're right.
4 on the trot.
Yep.
Yeah, the Panthers, they're back. Keep an eye out for them. Let's move on. Next game, Manly 28, Tigers 10. Now, this game didn't reach the same heights as the first game of the weekend, but you got a feel for probably Benji Marshall on the weekend. He was sitting on the sideline. He looked a little bit frustrated, I thought, on the weekend. Now, the Tigers did sustain a few injuries in this game, which made matters a little bit worse. Obviously, they went into this game without Jerome Luai, who had a boil, Susan Boyle, on the chest. On the chest, too. You don't really hear of boils on the chest, but that's quite dangerous having one there. Obviously, they lost Api Coruscant with a HIA. I'm pretty sure that will have him out of this weekend's game as well. Fainu starts at half. I really liked Fainu starting at half. We spoke about last week. It was time to put him and start him at half. But I just feel like he, obviously Jerome wasn't there. I felt like he needed to take a bit more control of the kicking game for the Tigers, which I thought just let them down at stages in this game. I just didn't feel like he had the ownership of the game on the boot like he needed to. Like Cherry Evans, when he knows he needs to kick the ball, he knows the areas he needs to put it, and he does it. And I feel like Fainu, that's the step for him when he didn't have the senior half like up Jerome there to sort of lean on. He needed to take a bit more control, and I feel like he'll probably learn a bit of a lesson from that game on the weekend. And that's a step for him to sort of continue. Now, the Tigers have lost 6 in a row now. It's hard to sort of, the Tigers, they've won they've came last the last 4 years in a row. So, I thought at the start of the year, and I still think they can, if they can start to win, like they're a chance to make the 8. They can make the 8.
Yep.
Right, they're in contention. But they have a lot of improvement. They have a lot of improvement at the moment. Obviously, the adversity they're facing at the moment with the injuries and players that are going to be missing for them this weekend. And
losing Galvin mid-season as well.
They lost Galvin. Yeah. Obviously, they're playing this weekend without Jerome Luai. Uppy's going to be out with a HIA. They're facing some adversity right now, and they need a win. Losing 6 on the trot, like you can't afford to keep dropping games, so they need to win now. And for Manly, well, it was their first game, which what looks to be a look into the future with Turbo moving to centre, Lehigh Hopewadi to fullback, and it was interesting on the back of Turbo's interview he did with Gus last week. I'm not sure if you saw it on one of the
100% footy.
100% footy. I'm pretty sure it was where Gus was just like hammering him with questions like, how long have you got left to play? Like these types of questions. Like, mate, Turbo's going, mate, I'm 28. Like I've got plenty of time to go. Obviously, he's had injuries and things like that. But he was almost like he was just hitting him with question after question, and then like he'd almost like give him a rap, and then like obviously you could tell the respect was there, but it was like, hey, I'm asking you some pretty serious, full-on questions here at the moment, but. Yeah, Turbo, like he always does, always handles himself with grace and professionalism. And look, I thought he was he had a bit of a license to roam in this game. He wasn't just stuck on that right edge at right centre. He came across, he swung out to the left. He was involved in some other plays and some other areas, and that is what I think we will continue to see for Turbo. He won't be stuck down to that right centre position. He'll leave, he'll come across, he'll get involved with their attack, and it's going to be, I think, his position for the future. So we'll see how that plays out.
His contract runs out in 2026. Do you think Gus was sussing him out?
No, I don't. I think you're silly if you're another NRL team and you think you're going to get one of the Trbojevic brothers. I think
they're Manly boys.
They're Manly boys through and through. They won't play for another team. They'll play for Manly, and they might go overseas at some stage if they want to, if they have to. They'll probably go to the same team overseas, maybe, but I just can't see them playing for another team. But it will be interesting to see. Obviously, he's getting paid fullback money right now. And him being off contract next season, it's like, what does he sign for after next season? Is it centre money? Because centre money is lesser than fullback money. Yeah. So where do they see him fitting into the cap and for how long and whatnot? That remains to be seen. Let's move on to the next game. Raiders 22, Knights 18. The biggest takeaway from this game in the Hunter Valley was the injury to Kalen Ponga. Have you got an update there on the Ponga injury, Victor?
Yeah, it said NRL physio.
Yep.
Liz Frank injury. Sorry, not NRL physio. They got scans today. And it's a confirmed Liz Frank injury, and he'll be aiming to be back at the back end of the season. So, yeah.
So Liz Frank injury is an injury in the foot. I'm pretty sure the top of the foot. So not a nice injury. I'm pretty sure it's like boot. I don't think surgery, but just like boot for a while to take all the pressure off the foot. So really unfortunate for KP and the Newcastle Knights, because obviously the captain, he's their best player. He's going to be a massive loss for them, I think, as well. You know, Fletcher Sharp's unavailable at the moment, obviously with the lacerated kidney or spleen or something like that.
Yeah, kidney.
Excuse me. So,
injury, yep.
You know, the Knights, having a few injuries at the moment. But the Raiders, well, they started this game unbelievably well. They got to a 16-0 lead early in the first half. The Raiders, they rested Hudson Young on the back of his origin schedule over the past couple of weeks. And they did not miss a beat with Sasangi, who came in and played on that edge there. He done a great job. I thought his carries were outstanding. And I thought for the Knights, well, Crossland, I thought the move to put him to 13, I thought was a great one. Crossland, who's played a lot of halves in his time and then moved to hooker, he looked right at home at 13. Whenever they moved the ball with him, I thought he went deep into the line. He was executing really nice passes, organising great shape around him. Obviously, that allowed Jaden Brayley to go to dummy half and play his role. But I thought Crossland to 13 was a great move by Adam O'Brien. And we've been a little bit critical of Adam O'Brien, some of the things he's said and done over this season. But I thought that was a really nice decision to put Crossland into 13. And when KP was on, I think he was getting more opportunities in their attack for the Knights. I feel like they're putting him in better positions now. I know he's out injured now, but I feel like there was so much made of the Knights' attack at the start of the year and how they couldn't score points. I feel like now they've improved, and they're getting KP in those better positions. But yeah, for Fogarty and the Raiders, well, Fogarty got a couple of kicks wrong in the second half, which then allowed the Knights to come back in and gain some field position and score some points. And then the Jackson Hastings error, which led to the Jed Stewart try, came in a really unfortunate time for the Knights because they were kind of building and sort of sparking a comeback. But that try took the Raiders to 22-6 and gave them, a good enough lead. The Knights scored a couple of tries late. But yeah, it just wasn't enough. The Raiders, it's a sign of a good team when you don't play well, but you can come away with the win, and especially at an away stadium, like Newcastle, for Canberra to go to Newcastle and not play great and get a win in a hostile environment and still come away with a win. Like the Raiders were off the field, they'd be like, yeah, we'll take the win. We'll just take the win and we'll move on. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
That's all it is. And now they're top of the table.
For the
first time in 22 years.
That's insane. First time in 22 years, the Raiders are at the top of the table. Well done, Victor.
Would you say they're premiership favourites now? With the Bulldogs not unsure about their spine?
Would I say that? Yes.
Yeah?
I would say right now that the Raiders are premiership favourites. I think the Raiders can win the comp. 100%.
Yep.
100% they can win the comp, and I think they're favourites right now. Yep, they look great. They look the real deal. Yeah, they're winning without playing well at the moment. They've done that multiple times this season, and if they're at their best, Yeah, they can beat anyone.
Were they like wooden spoon favourites?
they,
Started the season.
they were, yeah. Well, they're by
Far
some
out.
people, some experts.
Yeah.
Some experts.
It's always good news.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Good
Let's move on to the next game. Broncos 26, Warriors 12. Now, this was the first game at Suncorp Stadium on the weekend on Saturday night. Now, this is just a crazy scene of events to have 2 games at Suncorp, bring the crowd in, and then take them out, clean up the stadium, and then get ready for a game 2 hours later on. I thought that was incredible by Suncorp Stadium and all their employees, so well done to them. Obviously, the massive takeaways and the massive ramifications from this game, this win for the Broncos, was the injuries to Luke Metcalf and Chance Nickel-Clockstead for the Warriors. What does this mean for the Warriors? You know, Metcalf is a suspected ACL injury. I'm not sure if the scans have confirmed that just yet, Victor. But yeah, this has huge ramifications for the Warriors. Like, I think Tamade Martin would then come in for the Warriors at that halfback position. They've got Tanner Boyd there as well, who's done a really good job for them in New South Wales Cup. So they've got options there at the halfback position. But Metcalf, who has been almost one of the best players of the competition so far this season, really having a breakout season, it's going to really, I think, it's going to impact their team. But like I said, they've got options from guys who have a lot of first-grade experience. Tanner Boyd and Tamade Martin, they know how to come in and do a job. But can it be of the quality that Metcalf has shown so far this season? Well, I'm not too sure. And obviously, Chance as well. What do they do with their fullback position? Does Roger go back to fullback? And do they bring in another outside back? So that's going to be interesting to see.
No news yet.
So
do you think they're going to fly to New Zealand first and then get the scans there?
Yeah, well, it depends. I think they'll probably get the scans in Australia. I mean, obviously, it's just happening on the week. That's the thing with the Warriors. Obviously, they got, whether they do scans in Australia or back home, there's obviously flights and admin that goes in between, you know, the games and the post-game, you know, medical. So,
yeah, it's a suspected ACL.
Suspected ACL.
And then for Chance, it's a knee injury, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll wait. Obviously, it's gonna the information will come out once we finish recording. But stay tuned. I'm sure you'll see it all over the news everywhere. Stags scored early in this game off a Reynolds kick. Geez, these two have a nice combination. The Reynolds right foot to Stags. Yeah, Chase, and he's scored a lot of kicks over the past couple of years. These guys have played together. The Broncos led 18-0 at halftime, and I thought Reece Walsh had a pretty solid game. I mean, he's building off the back of that knee injury he's had over the past couple of weeks, but gosh, he was offside in that second half, and Andrew Webster let everyone know in the post-game press conference where the Broncos got that penalty. He was offside. Clearly offside, but they couldn't take that back. Gamut Shibasaki scored 2, but it could have been 4. He could have scored 4 tries. He one, the sort of pass that came back in, he knocked on, and then another one as well. But like we said at the top of the show, Gamut Shibasaki, he's been called into Origin on the back of, you know, perseverance, hard work, you know, massive congratulations to him. And another quick shout out to my mate, Jack Gashevsky, who I play with at the Cowboys. Now, Jack and his partner Avalon have just opened up the very first Char Grill Charlie's in New Farm in Brisbane. So Char Grill Charlie's, the first franchise in Brisbane. They've opened it up, Jack and his partner, as a family-run business. So well done to them. I saw all the Broncos players were down there at their grand opening and checking out the Char Grill chicken and all those. The food looked absolutely insane. Obviously, everyone knows what Char Grill Charlie's is about, but to have the first one in Brisbane City, down at New Farm, make sure if you're in Brisbane, you go down and check it out. And a massive congratulations to them. So. And just quickly before we finish this game off, the Warriors, they had 36 missed tackles. They had 46% possession and 74% completion. So those numbers a little bit down to what they're usually at. Obviously, the big takeaways, as we spoke about, the injuries to Metcalf and Chance, this could be a big turning point for the War season, whether they continue to do what they've done or they really suffer from these guys being out for potentially a long period of time. Let's move on to the next game. The Dragons 34, the Eels 20. Now, this was a pretty big week for the Dragons coming off the bye last weekend. You know, a lot of mounting pressure on the side after a couple of losses and not playing as well. But, gosh, they bounced back, didn't they? And they bounced back and scored in the first minute. They dominated from the very start. 2 early tries to Nathan Lawson, who came in at the very last minute. Then Kyle Flanagan, who has been in the media a fair bit over the last month. And guys on social media having a go at him as well. That try he scored, I thought, was a great try. Really, a really nice try, and got the Dragons in a really nice position. I thought Val Holmes, I thought he was really solid for the Dragons, and the Dragons, I thought, did what they needed to do. They were, in my opinion, like I don't do tips or anything like that, but I thought the Dragons would beat the Eels. I just think at the Dragons at their best this season, and then the Eels at their best, I liked the Dragons. You could just clearly see that what the Eels' game plan was basically just kick the ball to Lomax on the last tackle. He competed for absolutely everything. Lomax, he ended up running 197 metres, and he was just competing on everything. And I thought Nathan Lawson, you could tell he was up for it. He was getting upstairs and jumping up and really, taking that challenge head on. And the Eels, they did mount a fight back in that second half. They got the score back to 26-20 with 20 to go, but they just couldn't go on with it. And then, Lomax competing on a kick, and then had to throw it out the back, and then Val, it could have gifted Val his second try of the game. He ran for 221 metres, Val Holmes, and he was one of their best. So, the Dragons did what they needed to do. It probably keeps the pressure off them for a little bit, getting a win. But they've still got a fair bit of work ahead of them. I think Flano will let them know that. Flano will be on top of those boys, making sure that they are preparing and playing well come the back end of the year. And we'll see how they finish up. I'm not sure who they're playing this week, but it's going to be a big game for them. Let's move on to the last game. On Saturday evening, the Dolphins 50 versus the Rabbitohs 28. Now, this was the second game, as I touched on previously, at Suncorp Stadium. South scored early to Jack Whiten, but then it was basically all Dolphins from there. Our guy, Alex Johnston, 78 points scored in this game. Alex Johnston didn't score one of them. So, that's unfortunate for NRL fans.
Yeah.
He doesn't get closer to the try-scoring record, and South fans might have to wait a little bit extra time to sort of get him up on the shoulders and storm the field when he does get that try-scoring record. But the Hammer, well, we spoke about him at the top of the show. 4 tries. He was just absolutely outstanding. Ran for 264 metres. What a game from the Hammer. Katoa, his ball playing, again, absolutely on fire. His playmaking. And I'm not sure what was actually doing with the South Sydney middle defence, because there was one time where it was almost like he got a 2-hand touch on him and he went straight through and set up a try for Hammer. But I have no doubt that South Sydney would have spoken all week. No shows. Do not take a dummy on Katoa. He's ball playing. He's showing you need to pressure him from the inside. You can't take a dummy on this. We need to pressure him. And he went straight through.
Still didn't work.
He's still doing it. So he was great, Katoa, and there's reports that he's going to be involved in the Origin camp for Game 3. So a really great reward for him and his form so far this season. Some other takeaways from this game. Well, I thought Kurt Donahue, he was outstanding. I really like the look of this kid. He plays tough. He's physical. He enjoys the hard work, and he's versatile. He had 13 on the back. I thought his ball playing was really nice. He moved into the halves when Cody Nikorima was taken down with the sniper, did his hamstring, which was really unfortunate because Cody is playing some of the best football of his whole career at the moment. The veteran 5'8". He's formed a great combination with Katoa. And you can see, Katoa spoke after the game, and he spoke about the combination with Neff, Cody Nikorima, and that they really feed off each other. So I think he will be missed. So it'll be interesting to see who they sort of plug in there. For Souths, well, Keon was kept quiet. He was quiet in this game, 108 metres. And if it's almost like if Keon is quiet, then Souths kind of struggle through the middle. Jai Arrow was quiet as well. And these two, we've been really high on these two since they've moved to the front row. I really like them in the front row for Souths, but they were just... I don't know whether it was a team thing or was both of these guys. They just didn't run for, have the same impact as they usually do. And the rest of their forwards, they really struggled. I mean, Sean Kepi only ran for 26 metres. He started in the front row, and it probably just goes to show, you know what I mean, this team, if you don't control the ball, you don't win the ruck in defence, like your effectiveness with the ball in attack, you become less effective. So, yeah, disappointing night for the Rabbits, but a positive night for the Dolphins.
Yep.
But let's move on to some Sunday games. 2 massive games on Sunday. The first game, the Storm versus your Sharks, Victor.
Sharkies.
30-6. Now, this was a good quality game, I thought, in this game. I mean, both teams were in the Sharks were in it for a long time. You know, I know the scoreline sort of blew out at the end, but the Sharks, they hung in there. They stayed in the game. Their effort areas were good, which I saw Fitzgibbon was something that he wanted the team to work on. And I watched his post-game press conference, and he was relatively happy with a lot of parts of their game, and feels like they're building, which I could see that in their performance. Like, they did lose the game, but I agree with, I can't remember who it was. It was someone mentioned that if the Sharks if they make an error or they're on a slope, it's like then they keep sliding. Like, they haven't been able to fight back, and it's probably their own worst enemy, to be honest. I feel like the Sharks are at some of the stages. I think they're a good team, and I've said that a lot. They're one of those teams that Fitzy can roll out the same team each and every week. Like, their back line is, when they're on, they are one of the hardest backlines to stop in the competition. But there was just some decisions they kind of made with the ball, forcing passes, which sort of gave the Storm, you know, field position and all the running down there in Melbourne, which really made it hard for the Sharks. Eli Katoa. Well, wow. If you're a back rower, go and watch Eli Katoa highlights from this game. He was competing up in the air. Let's have a look at this first try, man. Hughes puts the kicks up. Eli Katoa gets on side. He sprints down there, puts his head down, sprints, gets upstairs, jumps, and then offloads the ball back. And it was absolutely outstanding. A great try assist from Eli Katoa. It just goes to show, like, you might not touch the ball all set, but then if you just compete on a kick and get upstairs and get the ball, come down, good things happen. So Eli Katoa, he's just gone from strength to strength since joining the Melbourne Storm. A really great addition for him. I really love watching him play. Fa'alongo, I thought, was also impressive for the Storm. He scored a nice try. He ended up going off with an injury. Looked like a hamstring injury as well. Adam Fanua-Blake was the only Sharks forward to run over 100 metres. The next highest was Britton Nickera with 83 metres. Yeah. So that kind of tells a bit of the tale of where this game kind of was won and lost. You know, if you only get one forward running over 100 metres, then your go forward's probably not where it needs to be. So that's one thing for the Sharks middles to work on. An interesting note from watching this game, your guy Will Kennedy still unsigned for next season.
What do you think? Where do you think he ends up?
I think he stays at Cronulla for 1 year. If I'm Will Kennedy, reports are that they've offered him a haircut deal because they just don't have the salary cap space. But he's probably not. He's going to start fullback for them if he stays.
Yeah.
If he leaves, I'm not sure where else he starts next year. I don't know if there's an opening at fullback for another team right now.
Not really, hey.
But you probably stay for 1 year, take the haircut, and then look to secure your long-term future after that.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one because that's like now, like it's round 18, like, you know.
You talk about like how Fitzy, he obviously picks pretty much the same team every week.
Yeah.
Do you think there needs to be changes made?
Yeah.
I'm still on the fence about it.
Well, Sharks fans want changes, don't they?
They do. I'm still on the fence about it because, like, who else do you pick?
Yeah, well, Atkinson. He's one name that is on everyone's
pop up
lips.
But where are you going to put him? In the halves? Like, are you gonna drop Hines?
I'm not sure, but like, you know, the Sharks are out of the 8 at the moment. They're 10th.
They're 10th. Dolphins are 8th, actually, which is... We've said Dolphins.
When was the last time the Sharks were 10th?
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah.
Now, I think if they keep losing, like, you know, they don't make the 8, like, there's decisions will need to be made. And obviously, but Atkinson's leaving at the end of the year, so that's probably why they're, like, not really keen to put him in. And I don't really know who else they've got in that squad to sort of come in and make a difference that we haven't seen already.
That's it. And I don't think it's a personnel issue. Like, because player for player, when you put us against every team, we're like, I think we match them, but
100%.
it's almost a discipline issue or culture
I
issue.
said it before. The Sharks are their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Like, they're a good team. I've said that constantly. Their team on paper is a good quality team, but at stages they're just not as consistent as they should be for how talented they are.
Yep.
They're just not getting the results they should be getting, and that's why I think this pressure and this noise about changes and things like that is coming. But with changes, like, people just think it's so easy, to just drop such and such player. Like, it's not like that. It's like, let's just say, like, I get asked this question a little bit. It's like, if you got a guy in your team that's on starter money, let's just say, for example, starting front row, you're getting paid starting front row money. You're the starting front row for the team. If you get dropped out of the team, like, there's noise and there's ramifications for that. Like, if that player goes out of the team, then that day that happens, that manager is ringing that coach and saying, hey, mate, like, what's going on? What's going on? And the coaches then going, oh, mate, we just don't think his form's like where it should be. That manager then goes, all right, mate, well, we'll just get a release. Can we get a release? We'll go and play elsewhere. Those are the kind of things that happen. So it's not just as easy for a coach to say, yeah, mate, you're out. Like, you need to this is your team. Like, you need to look after guys. You don't just chop and change and make changes all the time. Yep. So I hope fans can understand that, as frustrating as that may sound for them, but it's like, this is your starting guys. Like, this is who you trust and rely on. This is why you pay them that money, regardless if it's front rower, halfback, fullback, center, whatever it is.
Yep. Some good insight.
But anyway, we'll cut that up as a reel for sure. Let's move on. Last game of the weekend. Cowboys 30, Titans 24. This was a big game for the Cowboys after a couple of really heavy losses over the past couple of weeks. From reports before this game, the Cowboys had a really good look at themselves after their loss against the Roosters the week before, and obviously the past couple of weeks they needed a bit of an attitude adjustment, I thought, the Cowboys, and they got that. They improved, I thought. I don't think they're where they need to be at the moment, but they definitely improved, and they controlled the ball a little more. Although it was against the Titans, I still feel like they can improve on that as well. They lost Jordan McLean and John Bateman at captain's run due to injuries. And throughout this game, like, I felt like the Cows were in control for pretty much the whole game. The Titans did sort of come back at one stage. Interesting note, Todd Payton on the sidelines actually in this game, which was good to see. The Titans, they ended up having more ball and completed at a higher rate than the Cows. As I mentioned, the Cows, I think, still need to improve their completion rate. They had 15 errors. Rob Derby had 5 of them. So you take out Rob Derby's 5, there's 10 errors, which is, you probably want less than 10 in a game, but I thought 15 is just way too high. So they need to kind of cut that to below 10, I feel, like, to continue to move forward. Drinky was outstanding. Tommy Dearden was outstanding as well. Cliffo, I thought was good to see Cliffo back in the halves. There's reports around that Cliffo might be joining the Raiders. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but it was great to see him back into first grade as well. And I thought the Cows, well, they just did what they needed to do. The Titans, who are coming last at the moment, I never thought that the Titans were a chance of winning this game. Actually, there was a slight chance where I was watching the game and I was like, the Titans could come back here. They could come back, but then I think they might have made an error, and the Cows were just like, they were too good in the end. So the Cows did what they needed to do. And yeah, that's all the games from this weekend. So let's move on to a new segment here on the show. Now, we're always looking at ways that we can improve the show, and I thought let's start a new segment called The Top 5. And today we're looking at the top 5 NRL balls, the top 5 sponsors on the balls. Now, I'm going to start at number 5. The number 5 sponsor, the number 5 ball that I liked was the Schick Hydro sponsored ball. Now, you see the Schick Hydro sponsor on the ball there. That comes in at number 5. Now, number 4 was the Coke Zero ball. And the Coke Zero ball is back from a couple of years ago. You see Benji Marshall, when he was in the prime, he had the Coke Zero, the black sort of sponsorship there. That comes in number 4. I didn't mind that one. Number 3 was the Nutrigrain sponsor on the ball. I think we all remember that, the Nutrigrain ball. I feel those balls were a little bit more rounder. Obviously, all these balls are Steeden, which is obviously the official ball of the NRL, but Nutrigrain comes in at number 3. Number 2 was Macca's. Now, the Macca's sponsorship on the ball was a while ago. It was almost like when I was a kid. I remember these balls with Macca's. Everyone remembers the big Macca's logo on the ball. That comes in at number 2. And my favorite ball sponsorship I've seen in the NRL, number 1 is the Powerade sponsored ball. You see the Powerade sponsor, that was my number 1 ranked ball. So I'd love to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Which was your favorite ball? Which is your favorite ball sponsor? We'd love to hear on the show. Some other notable sponsors from the balls at the moment, we've got Westpac, we've got Mount Franklin, the Dick Smith was on the Nines ball, EISS Super, and Downer for the NRL Nines as well.
What they forget about is the yellow Toyota Cup ball.
Oh, yeah, the yellow Toyota Cup ball, actually. I did play with that a long time ago. Yeah. I do remember that. Yeah, what do we reckon? Are they bringing that back?
Bring the yellow ball back?
Bring the yellow ball back. It was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
Mate, what do we got next?
Big footy guy of the week.
Big footy guy of the week. All right, guys. This is where we nominate 3 players for the big footy guy of the week. Our first nomination is Gamut Shibasaki. This stat line, 2 tries, 10 tackle breaks. 3 line breaks, 152 metres, and an origin call-up for Gamut Shibasaki. So well done to him. Our second nomination is Valentine Holmes. His first nomination of the year for our big footy guy of the week. 2 tries, 1 try assist, 7 tackle breaks, 18 runs for 221 metres. He was on fire for the Dragons. And our last nomination is Hamaso Tabuai Fido. The Hammer, 4 tries, 7 tackle breaks, 22 runs, 264 metres, and a game through Queensland fullback selection. So well done to those boys on our big footy guy nominations. Let's move into our fan questions before we wrap it all up, Victor.
Owen asks, who do you reckon is the best winger right now?
Best winger right now?
Right now.
The best winger in the competition right now, I think it's hard to go past. I think it's either Zach Lomax or Brian To'o.
I was going to say To'o.
I think if you look at those 2 guys, what they do for their teams, like Lomax is a winger, he's not a centre, but the way he competes on those balls and on those kicks and the way he carries the ball in the backfield, that's what you want from a winger. A winger who's athletic in the air, who carries the ball hard in yardage and who finish off and score tries. That's a top winger. Brighton To'o, while he's not that aerial threat, he more than makes up for it with his yardage carries, for sure.
Yep. Boost. Next question. Who is the all-time greatest teammate you've ever had, and who is the best at giving speeches in the huddle?
That's a 2-part question.
Yeah, 2-part question.
It's hard to sort of narrow down to my all-time greatest teammate. So I'll just leave that because there's multiple guys I could answer about that. But the best speaker in the huddle that I ever played with was by far Michael Ennis. Michael Ennis, after he spoke, he had you feeling like you wanted to run through a brick wall. And like, I'm a halfback, and I felt like I could have ran through a brick wall after Michael Ennis. Like, you're in the huddle, everyone's in the huddle, Michael Ennis is just in there like this, like just pointing and looking at you dead in the eye and just like putting it all on you and just makes you want to, like, just shivers down the spine. And I only got to play 1 season with Michael Ennis, but gosh, it was enjoyable. Man, he everything he asked me to do, I was like, yep, I'll do anything you ask me to do. Anything you say, I'll do. That's just, I felt like it was my duty. You know what I mean? I would have died for him that year. He asked me, I would do anything for him. And I thought my teammates would do the same. And that's why we had success, I think, the year we did.
Do you remember one like line specifically, or like your favorite Michael Ennis huddle moment?
I just remember the emotion. It was almost like he was crying. He would cry, almost cry, like when he would speak. Like he was just that intense right before kickoff, that good at motivating players. I don't remember a single line, but I know that he would like side shuffle up and down the sheds, and like it gave the tingles on your back. Like I said, it motivated the hell out of you.
Love it.
For sure.
Love it. Next question. Who do you think will finish top 4 at the end of the season in order?
Top 4 for me at the moment. It's hard to see the top 4 changing at the moment, if I'm fair. I think it's Raiders, Bulldogs, Storm. Maybe the Warriors slip out due to Metcalf and Chan's injuries. But I think those 3 teams, and then, I feel like anyone from 4 to
10.
4 to 10 at the moment. It's kind of open. Like, it's so tight there. If you go on a bit of a run, it's like some team's going to go on a run. Someone will go on a run. But I feel like that last top 4 position is open at the moment. I feel like the top 3 are kind of set, if I'm honest.
Yep. Who's the most iconic duo in the game at the moment?
At the moment, that's a great question. Who asked this question? I feel like
Anonymous.
Anonymous.
Literally XX Anonymous.
Yeah, because I feel like how many years, like there was back in the day, there was like Gidley to Tahu. You know what I mean? Remember the Gidley to Flick to Tahu? Like that duo was like insane. Like Cooper and Gaznia, like that was another duo. Like the most dynamic duo, I think it probably. Oh man,
it's a really tough one.
It is a tough one.
I reckon if Crichton was still at the Panthers, it would be Crichton Tor.
Yeah, well, the Panthers would have had a dynamic duo. They've all split up because they've been paid big contracts at different teams. Leave that with me because that's a good
really
question.
Good question.
I don't feel like they're as dynamic as they used to be. I don't know why that is, but like I said, I feel like that Panthers kind of like if it was Crichton and Toto, like they're obviously split up now. You know what I mean? And all the teams that have been down the bottom for so long are now sort of creeping up. So they're sort of evolving and putting their own stamp on the competition. You know, if they continue to do that for years to come, I feel like we'll see plenty of dynamic duos.
Career highlight. Favorite career highlight other than the 2016 Premiership?
My favorite career highlight other than the 2016 Premiership is, man, I think it's just my NRL debut. When you make your NRL debut, it's just like all your dreams just come true. And it's like you realize that everything you worked for, everything you sacrificed as a kid, and everything you did to get there was worth it at that time. And what I will say is I feel like your NRL, like the NRL debut is great. Making the NRL is hard, extremely hard. Like the percentages of actually making your debut, like if you're junior footy and you look around and like, I remember guys would come in and give us talks and they'd be like, see this team here, like maybe one of you guys are going to make the NRL. And I always used to think to myself, that's me. Like it's, or they go, or 2 guys are going to make it. I'm like, well, it's me and who else? Maybe him. I'm thinking that in my head, like it's me and like, yeah, that was my mentality when I was a kid. So I think making the NRL is extremely hard, but then like staying in the NRL is harder because every year there's another young kid who's just as hungry as you were, who's played, Australian schoolboys, who's the next big thing, who's coming in, who wants to take your position, and you have to continue to evolve year on year. It's like you can't rely on what you did last year for right now. You have to play well this weekend. And if you don't, like, there's pressure on you, regardless of who you are, regardless if you're like the New South Wales halfback or you're like number 30 squad member on the last team in the competition. Like there's pressure on you regardless of who you are.
Yep. Awesome. That's it.
Sweet. All right. Thank you, Victor. And thank you to you guys for watching. If you enjoy the podcast, please make sure you do subscribe. We really do appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week. Let's go.